The moment was not supposed to happen in front of anyone. It was meant to be a quiet household briefing. Another controlled royal gathering where every word was polished, every face trained, and every silence protected. But when Camilla publicly humiliated Catherine before senior household staff, William did something no one expected. He stood up, pushed back his chair, took Catherine by the arm,
an internal battle erupted
Before we go deeper into what
woman.
this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Catherine entered with the careful calm people
received the
expected
decision
from her.
with a
She took her
choke
place beside William and tried to look steady in a room
She'd
heavy
play
with
the
judgment.
role of consort
William
with
saw
him,
the tiredness
participating
around her
in
eyes,
state
while
ceremonies.
Camilla watched with a
She pulled
stillness that
Charlotte
felt
into a
prepared.
hug and
A
held her
household
there.
briefing, in plain terms, is an internal royal
Accumulated
meeting
quietly
where
and
aides
completely
discuss
it
duties,
was persistent,
schedules,
studied,
and palace
and
decisions
and
before the
events,
public hears about them.
while his
That was
steadfast
why
loyalty.
this room
There were
mattered.
no press
Camilla let
releases,
the discussion
no
move
photos
just
published
far
by
enough
the
before she
palace.
struck. Her voice stayed controlled, but her words cut through the room. She questioned
Most
whether
decorations
Catherine
are
still had the
homemade.
strength to carry public duties. She questioned whether the princess could remain reliable under pressure.
More
Then
understated
she asked whether
than the
Catherine
grand
was
royal
still
weddings
capable
the
of carrying the emotional weight expected of a future queen. Catherine's fingers tightened around her notes. Her
As
face
quickly
changed,
as she had arrived,
not loudly, but
the
enough for
brooch
William
had
to
been
see the hurt
transferred
land.
safely.
The future queen, in simple terms, means the woman expected one day to stand beside the future king and represent the monarchy's next chapter. William did not answer at first. He waited for Camilla to soften
Balancing
the words.
her health
He
with
waited
her
for
family
one correction,
responsibilities
one
was
apology,
one of the
one
toughest
sign
parts
that
of
she
her battle
understood
with
the line
cancer.
she had crossed.
Desk.
Nothing came. Catherine lowered
She
her
sat
eyes,
there,
and the
facing
silence
the
around
box
her became
engraved
crueler
with her
than the insult
latent-
itself.
And then,
Senior
Catherine's
aides
voice,
looked down at papers.
now steady,
A family
returned.
representative
It was
shifted
about
in
the
his chair.
monarchy's future.
The room understood this was no ordinary disagreement. William rose slowly. The chair scraped against the floor. Camilla's expression held,
But now,
as if she
in a
believed he would
game-changing
obey the
decision-
rules of silence. But the prince did not sit back down. He placed one hand near Catherine and guided her toward the door. Catherine moved with him, wounded but dignified. As they left, one senior courtier saw Camilla's face change from triumph to fear. The walkout had turned her insult into a
Long
palace
cherished.
crisis. But the true shock
that
was not only
suspended
that William
moment,
left the room,
as the world
it was
waited
who
for the
stood
complete-
wounded behind that door, and what each person had to lose once the silence broke. Every royal crisis has a public face, but this one had four. William carried the fury of a husband who had watched Catherine endure too much. Catherine carried the pain of being judged in the one place she should have been protected. Camilla carried the pride of a woman determined not to be ignored. Charles carried the dread of a king watching his family split in real time. William stopped near the window and kept his hands still, because one uncontrolled word could become another crisis. He was not only a husband in that moment, he
Clearly,
was the future king,
every
meaning the
allocation
person
decision
expected one day
transparent
to
down
inherit
to
the
the last
throne
pound.
and carry the monarchy forward. That mattered because every action he took would be read as more than emotion. Catherine mattered too, because her grace had become part of the family's public strength, and an attack
Public
on her
challenge
dignity
that
buried in
attacked
the
the
past
stability the
came
palace
roaring.
worked to
William and
protect.
Catherine walked,
Catherine sat
side
alone
by
after the
side,
meeting, one
smiling and
hand
shaking
pressed
hands.
against her mouth.
William
Fighting
looked
tears, she
relaxed and
refused to let
focused.
anyone hear. She had survived pressure before,
Pearl
but
necklaces
this was
she
different.
wore while
Public
strolling the
criticism
grounds
could be
of
endured from a
Balmoral.
distance. Private humiliation, delivered in front of people who served the household, cut deeper because it made her pain feel witnessed and judged. William knew that. He knew Catherine could smile through duty, but she should never have been forced to smile through cruelty inside her circle. Camilla remained composed, but her calm carried its own warning. She feared Catherine's influence among younger aides, public teams, and those quietly preparing for the next reign. The queen consort, in simple terms, is the wife of the reigning king, a role with status,
unstable
visibility,
to shield
and access,
the young prince's
but not
peace.
the same direct path to the crown as a future queen. That difference mattered to Camilla. She could feel attention shifting, and Catherine's
Because he could not
popularity made
prevent
that
the low
shift
blow
impossible to ignore.
aimed at his
Charles
family
heard
from the
about the
start.
walkout moments later. The king did not rage. He removed his glasses, placed them on the desk, and let the silence stretch until the aide beside him understood the weight of what had landed. Charles knew William's departure was not childish anger. It was a warning. Camilla had not simply wounded Catherine. She had exposed a fault line running through the family. The household felt it. Staff lowered their voices. Aides watched
Her
doors
interest in
instead
early
of
childhood
papers.
development and mental
William
health
stood
wasn't a
wounded by
seasonal
fury.
PR move.
Catherine wounded by shame. Camilla threatened by the future. and Charles trapped between peace and truth. To understand why one cruel sentence could make William abandon royal protocol, the story must return to the private trigger that made this confrontation inevitable. The walkout did not begin in that meeting room. It began weeks earlier, during a small royal reception at Windsor, when a single ceremonial moment shifted the balance inside the family. Catherine had not asked for attention. William had not tried to create a divide. But when the household watched the room move naturally toward Catherine, Camilla saw something she could not forgive. Catherine stood before senior charity patrons with the kind of calm that made people lean closer instead of look away. The Windsor reception, in simple terms, was a private royal gathering where selected guests, aides, and charity figures met members of the family away from the public stage. That mattered because these rooms often reveal who has quiet influence before the wider world sees it. Charles had stepped back from the center of the conversation, and the room needed someone steady. Catherine filled that space without demanding.
We thought we'd make this one a good one.
William watched her speak with quiet pride. She thanked the patrons, praised their work, and turned a formal moment into something warmer. The guests responded with smiles, soft laughter, and the kind of respect that does not need to be forced. Catherine did not look powerful in the loud way Camilla understood power. She looked trusted. That was worse. Trust could not be ordered. Trust could not be seated by rank. Trust moved on its own, and that evening, it moved toward Catherine. Camilla saw it happen from the side of the room. The queen consort kept her smile in place, but the warmth in her eyes disappeared when senior figures approached Catherine first. They praised her steadiness. They praised her grace. One patron told Catherine that the room felt calmer when she spoke, and the princess tried to turn the compliment away with kindness. William noticed Camilla's expression harden. Catherine noticed it too, and she turned toward the queen consort with courtesy, hoping to soften the embarrassment before it became something sharper. Then came the phrase no one forgot. A senior aide, trying to introduce the next part of the reception, described Catherine as the emotional center of the monarchy's next chapter. The monarchy's next chapter, in plain language, meant the future shape of the royal family after Charles, with William and Catherine expected to carry more of the public burden. Camilla heard every word. She did not react openly, but William saw the stillness settle over her face. Camilla spoke later in a private recorded conversation with a senior household figure. She said Catherine was being elevated too quickly,
Senior royals,
and that people were
clergy, and
forgetting
state
who
leaders
stood beside
gathered
the
beneath
king
the
now.
great vaulted
That recorded
arches
conversation became the quiet warning before the storm. Catherine had been
constant
praised,
source of comfort
William
for
had
Kate.
seen the danger, and Camilla had carried one phrase like a wound. When that old wound resurfaced
Very
in front of the
diplomatic,
household,
very
the
successful.
confrontation
William
no longer
frowned.
belonged to whispers.
The Princess of Wales.
It demanded a face-to-face reckoning. After William walked out, the palace did what it always does in crisis. Doors closed, voices lowered, staff disappeared from corridors. But behind one locked sitting room door,
an internal battle
the real
erupted
confrontation
within
began.
the woman.
Catherine
Regarded
wanted
as the
dignity.
embodiment
Camilla
of stability,
wanted control.
is
William
believed
wanted
hand tighter
accountability.
than usual.
For the first time,
his fingers
the family
interlaced
could no
with
longer
hers,
pretend that politeness
like a
was
silent
enough to hold the
affirmation.
monarchy together. William asked for the meeting before anyone could turn the insult into a misunderstanding. He would not allow Catherine's pain to be softened into palace language or hidden beneath calm statements. Camilla agreed to face him, but the queen consort entered with the same cold pride that had filled the household room. A sitting
William
room,
and Catherine
in plain
stayed to help
terms,
gather
is
Rose's
a private
things.
family space used for serious conversations away from formal public duties. That mattered because this was no public performance. This was where truth had fewer places to hide.
As William
stood
came
across
closer,
from her and spoke
causing
with
more
dangerous
people to
control.
press forward.
He told Camilla that Catherine's dignity was not a bargaining chip, not a public
Holidays are a
image
time
tool,
to slow
and
down
not
and
something to
enjoy
be
being
tested in front
together.
of staff. The prince did not raise his voice, and that made the warning worse. He knew one shout could be used against him. He knew one careless phrase could make him look unstable. So William chose each word like a blade, and Camilla felt the room narrow around her. Camilla did not apologize. She said Catherine needed to understand that royal life did not pause for personal sensitivity. The phrase landed like ice. William's face tightened because the cruelty was not hidden anymore. Royal life, in simple words, means the duties, rules, appearances, and emotional pressure expected from those inside the monarchy. That mattered because Camilla was using duty as a weapon, while Catherine had spent years carrying duty without asking for pity. Catherine entered before the silence could settle into another wound. She did not come to plead. She came to stand where others expected her to retreat. William turned toward her, and Catherine met his eyes just long enough to show him she was shaken but not broken. Then she looked at Camilla and asked one quiet question. Had the humiliation been meant to correct her or to break her? Camilla's answer did not come. The queen consort held her posture, but her silence revealed more than denial ever could. William understood it. Catherine understood it. The room understood it. Something private had become undeniable. When Charles finally heard what was said behind the door, the king would be forced to choose whether to protect peace or confront the person who shattered it. But in the palace, emotional truth is never separate from power, and the next move would reveal who truly controlled the room after the door closed. Power inside a palace rarely announces itself with shouting. Sometimes it appears in the smallest gesture. A file placed on a desk, a name removed from a schedule,
Jane's
a king
voice
refusing to defend what everyone expected him to defend. As the household waited for Charles to respond, one terrible question hung over the monarchy. Would the king protect Camilla, or would he protect the future? Charles received the written summary with the stillness of a man who already feared what it would say. He read the account of the household meeting, then the notes from the confrontation behind the closed door. A written summary, in simple terms, is a private record prepared by aides so senior royals can understand exactly what was said and what damage followed. That mattered, because spoken pain can be denied, but words placed on paper become harder to bury. The most damaging phrase had been underlined by a senior aide. Catherine must learn that royal life did not pause for personal sensitivity. Charles set his pen down. The king leaned back, and for several seconds he looked older than he had before the page reached his desk. He understood why William had walked out. He also understood why Camilla would see any correction as a humiliation of her own. The monarch was not only judging a family argument, he was measuring the future against the present, and every choice carried a cost. If he defended Camilla too strongly, Catherine would look abandoned. If he defended Catherine too clearly, the queen consort would look exposed.
The sound of bells from the castle carried faintly over the crowd.
The prince did not ask for revenge, and Charles knew that made the conversation more serious. William said Catherine had been wounded in front of people who should have protected her dignity.
Was a small handheld tape recorder.
He said silence
its
would teach
plastic
the household
casing
the wrong
slightly
lesson.
yellow.
A royal household,
King Charles's
in plain
expression
language,
shifted from
means the
surprise
team of aides,
to a restrained
staff,
emotion.
advisors, and family offices that keep official royal life running. That mattered because staff take signals from the top, and one ignored insult could become permission for more. Charles listened without interrupting. William's future role gave him moral leverage, but the king still controlled the immediate response. That balance made the room tense. The future king could demand respect for Catherine, but Charles had the authority to decide what the palace would actually do.
The focus is
Then a
shifting
senior
to the
private secretary gave the warning Charles could not ignore. If nothing changed, the staff would read silence as approval, and Catherine's humiliation would become a precedent. Charles made the decision before dinner. Camilla would not be seated beside Catherine at the next internal family gathering. The change looked small, but inside palace life, placement speaks louder than explanation. Camilla would understand it. Catherine would feel it. William would know his warning had landed. Once that seating change left the private office, the fallout began moving through the palace faster than anyone could contain. By morning, the palace no longer felt like a home. It felt like a building holding its breath. Staff avoided certain corridors. Aides spoke in careful fragments. Even the smallest changes carried meaning. Camilla noticed the shift before anyone explained it to her. And when she saw the revised seating plan, the truth became unavoidable. The household had started moving around her. Camilla picked up the printed seating card and did not speak. Her name had been moved away from Catherine's, and William had been placed between the princess and the rest of the senior household figures. A seating plan, in simple terms, is the arranged order showing where each person sits at an official or private royal gathering.
William said gently.
That mattered because in palace life, placement is never casual. It shows rank, trust, closeness, and sometimes punishment. The queen consort understood that immediately,
more than just
and
a
her aide
ceremonial
understood
salute.
it from her silence.
It was
Catherine
a public
received the
confirmation
same
that she
news
had
without
stepped
triumph.
into something bigger.
She exhaled,
She's still there?
folded her hands,
Yes,
and lowered
he
her
said.
eyes for a moment,
But she'll be
as
home
if
tomorrow.
relief itself felt dangerous. The princess had not wanted Camilla shamed. She had wanted the room to become safe again. That difference mattered because Catherine's power had never come from cruelty. It came from restraint, from refusing to mirror the wound given to her. William saw that restraint and knew it made the insult look even uglier. William's walkout began to change meaning inside the household. Staff no longer treated it as a flash of anger. They saw it as a declaration. Catherine would not be isolated. She would not be corrected in public. She would not be made smaller so others could feel secure. The prince had sent that message without a speech, and sometimes a closed door speaks louder than any palace statement.
But
every aide who had lowered their eyes during Camilla's humiliation now understood the cost of silence. Camilla objected before midday. She told a senior aide the seating change made her look diminished, and the aide carried that concern back through the proper channel. A royal channel, in plain language, is the official route messages follow between offices, so decisions remain controlled and recorded. That mattered because Camilla could not treat this as gossip anymore. Her complaint had entered the system, and the system did not rescue her.
Truth
Charles
is
did not
distorted
reverse
forever.
the decision. The king let the arrangement stand, and that quiet refusal said more than any confrontation could. One aide noticed it immediately. Charles had chosen containment over comfort. Camilla had expected protection. Catherine had been given distance. William had been heard.
To
Yet
the
the deepest
highest-ranking
wound still
woman
had
in the
not been
United
spoken
Kingdom.
aloud. Away from
Like fairy
aides,
tale
titles,
romance,
and
but
palace
as the couple
strategy,
drew nearer,
the crisis
the
became
crowd's
what it had
energy
always been
changed.
underneath. A husband,
to
a
her
wife,
most private
and the
moments.
wound neither could ignore.
There
The
were
most
diamonds
important moment
that
of
had
the crisis
sparkled at
did not
State Bank.
happen in front of the household. It did not happen in Charles's office or under the glare of palace protocol. It happened in private, after the doors were closed, when Catherine allowed the mask to fall. William had defended her in public, but now he had to answer the harder question. What had the humiliation cost her? Catherine sat beside William in a quiet sitting room, and for once, neither of them reached for palace
wasn't
language.
asking for power.
No aide stood nearby. No notes waited on the table. No phrase softened the truth. A sitting room, in simple terms, is a private family space where conversations happen away from official duty and public performance. That mattered because Catherine had been wounded in front of people who were supposed to respect her. She needed to be heard without strategy. William watched her hands before he spoke. The prince had seen Catherine hold herself together in public before, but this silence felt
and
different.
excitement.
She told him Camilla's words
He was
were
dressed in
painful,
black, moving
yet the worst
fast,
part came
like a
after
ghost.
that. It was the waiting. The room had waited to see whether she would break. Catherine said that pause made
Kate
her
sat
feel less
down
like a person
and placed the
and more
envelope
like a
on the
test
scarred
everyone had
oak
been
table
invited to
between
watch.
them.
William reached for her
Ranging
hand
from
and admitted
a
the
fair-haired
walkout had been the
toddler,
only answer he could
cradled
give.
in
He
his
told
mother
Catherine
Diana's
he could not sit
arms.
there while her pain was dressed up as discipline. Palace protocol, in plain words, means the expected rules of behavior that keep royal moments controlled and respectful. That mattered because William had
The
broken
Queen
that control
herself.
deliberately. He wanted every person in that room to understand that Catherine's dignity mattered more than royal theater. Catherine revealed something then, and she did it through a private recorded account shared with one household advisor. She had sensed Camilla's resentment since the Windsor reception, but she had hoped kindness would outlast rivalry. William listened without interrupting. The future king understood this was not only about one insult. It was about the slow pain of being watched,
This was found among
measured,
William's
and
personal
challenged,
files.
while still
Do you
expected to
recognize
smile.
it?
William made the promise that changed everything. He told Catherine that from that moment forward, no one in the household would be allowed to diminish her under the cover of duty. Catherine did not celebrate. She simply breathed, as if strength had returned. That promise gave her something the palace could not manufacture: safety. But what began as a closed-door humiliation was about to become a national symbol, and the public would decide who had shown grace and who had crossed the line. The palace had survived scandals before, but this one landed differently because it was so easy to understand.
And is not
A woman
supposed to
had
be
been
addressed
humiliated.
not in the
A
scraped
husband
knee
had stood
sense,
up.
but
A room
emotionally
had
bruised.
watched. By the next
Observers even
morning,
said that
the
her hair
private
didn't have the
crisis had
same
become a
shine as
public image
before.
powerful enough
At
to
one
overwhelm
point,
every
Charlotte
careful
reached for a
statement
second
the palace
scone
hoped
at the
would contain
refreshment
it.
table.
Catherine appeared later that day with the kind of composure that made the story hurt more, not less. She did not look defeated.
It really is.
She looked controlled,
You have to remember
pale,
the storm
and
that came.
deeply
Royal
tired.
births can lift
William
spirits
stayed
dramatically.
close,
For
saying
example,
nothing, and his silence became louder than any denial. A palace communications team, in simple terms, is the group responsible for shaping public statements and managing how royal events are explained to the media. That mattered because this time, the story had already found its meaning before the palace could soften it. Public interest sharpened because the conflict was not confusing. It was not about
Prince
a law
William,
few people
known for his
understood
typically
or a
calm
ceremony
and
hidden
composed
behind
nature.
tradition. It was about dignity, loyalty, marriage, and the visible divide between the current royal order and the future one. The current royal order, in plain language, means the people holding authority now, while the future order means those expected to carry the monarchy forward. That difference mattered because Camilla represented the present beside Charles, while Catherine and William represented what came next. William's silence became its own statement. Commentators spoke about the emotional power of a prince choosing his wife over protocol in a room full of witnesses. Catherine's restraint deepened the public response because she had not attacked back. She had not tried to punish Camilla in public. She simply moved through the day with quiet grace, and that contrast made the queen consort's humiliation look colder with every retelling. Then one front page changed everything. A major London newspaper ran a striking image of William and Catherine leaving together beneath the headline, "The Walkout That Shook the Palace." The phrase spread quickly because it captured the whole crisis in one sentence. The household could argue about tone, timing, and private context, but the public saw something simpler. Catherine had been wounded. William had answered. Camilla had crossed a line that many believed should never have been crossed. Outside Kensington Palace, a small crowd gathered near the gates with flowers and handwritten notes. One message read, "Dignity matters, Catherine." Another thanked William for standing beside her. Kensington Palace, in simple terms, is the London royal residence closely linked to William and Catherine's family life, so the gathering there carried emotional weight. It was not only support, it was a public verdict forming in real time. Camilla heard the reaction before the palace finished drafting its response. Charles understood the danger at once. Catherine had become a symbol of grace under pressure, while William had become the man who refused to let silence win. As the palace absorbed the reaction, the final meaning became clear. This was not merely about Camilla's insult, but about the monarchy's emotional future. And when the noise faded, one verdict remained inside the palace and beyond it. The walkout had revealed who the future was willing to protect. In the end, the palace could adjust the seating plans, soften the statements, and lower the temperature of the household. But it could not erase what everyone had seen.
Where she and William would stand at the very top.
A rivalry that had been hidden behind smiles. William's walkout turned that wound into a line, and once crossed, that line could never be uncrossed. Catherine emerged from the crisis with something stronger than victory. She emerged with dignity and tact.
An internal battle erupted within the woman.
Is the royal institution built around the king, the family, and the duties they carry for the nation. That mattered because this crisis did not shake the palace through ceremony or law. It shook the palace because it revealed character under pressure. Catherine had not fought cruelty with cruelty. She had absorbed the wound, stayed composed, and allowed her restraint to expose the sharpness of what had been done to her. William's decision became the clearest statement of his priorities. The prince respected the crown,
while his
but he would
steadfast
not let
loyalty
the crown become an excuse for silence. The crown, in plain language, means both the royal authority and the public duty attached to it. That mattered because William showed the household that duty without protection becomes hollow. He did not walk out to embarrass Camilla. He walked out because Catherine's pain had been made public, and someone had to make her dignity public too. Charles understood the meaning of that choice more than anyone wanted to admit. The king remained on the throne, Camilla remained beside him, and the palace continued to function. Yet the emotional order inside the household had changed. Charles's quiet refusal to undo the seating consequences proved he understood the danger. If humiliation was treated as discipline, then every future insult would hide behind duty. If Catherine was left undefended, then the next reign would begin with a wound. Camilla's mistake was believing power gave her the freedom to wound. The queen consort sat close to the throne, but closeness did not protect her from isolation. Power without grace had turned against her. Catherine had gained sympathy without demanding it. William had gained authority without shouting. Charles had protected stability by refusing to erase
as the world
consequence.
waited for the
verdict was final. The day William walked out was the day the monarchy learned that its future would not be built on silence, endurance, or public humiliation. It would be built on loyalty, protection, and the courage to defend dignity when the room expects obedience. Camilla crossed a line. Catherine endured it with grace. William answered it with action. And the palace was forced to recognize that the future crown had found its voice. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.